President Obama and Michelle Obama went to Saudi Arabia to meet the new king, and they also wanted to mourn King Abdullah's passing. And what's making news today is what Michelle Obama decided to wear when she visited Saudi Arabia. Now, usually when the First Lady goes to Saudi Arabia, they are gifted with the traditional outfit that women wear in the country. And of course, that includes the full robe and the headdress that covers the hair. But she refused to wear that, which I give her a lot of credit for. And instead, she decided to wear slacks, which is frowned upon for women in Saudi Arabia, and also the blue top that you see there in the picture. I love this because it is a not so subtle way of saying, look, in America, we do things a little differently, and we're not going to wear the robe that you give us, and we believe in equality. And so some people might argue that this is maybe disrespecting their culture, but you know, forcing a woman from America to wear what you think is acceptable is disrespecting our culture. So
yeah, other women have done this in the past. Now, Laura Bush often covered her head in Muslim countries, but there was one instance, I believe back in 05, when Laura Bush did go to Saudi Arabia and also did not cover her hair. So good for her. And then at one point, Condoleezza Rice was gifted the same kind of headdress, et cetera, and she didn't put that on.
Right.
So good for her as well. So it's not unprecedented, but a lot of people look at Michelle Obama's attire more than they have for other first ladies, other people. And most of the time, other people did cover their hair. And so even though it's not unprecedented, it is one of the first times overall that you only have those two other instances that people point to.
Right.
So, and I hope that it becomes a precedent.
I hope so too. And remember, this is the country that won't allow women to drive. This is the country that expects women to cover up head to toe. I mean, it's interesting because here in the United States, we will usually reject and denounce things like terrorism or brutal behavior towards citizens. But Saudi Arabia practices brutal behavior towards citizens all the time, not just women. I mean, you want to talk about decapitations, you want to talk about stoning people to death. Saudi Arabia does the exact same thing, and we stand by and let it happen because they're our ally, meaning that they have resources that we want.
Yeah, and we let the Saudis get away with anything they want. I mean, there's literal beheadings in Saudi Arabia. Oh, it's okay, it's for criminals. Oh, by the way, sometimes they, punish people for being sorcerers.
Right.
Okay, I mean, it's absurd, right? Or for insulting Islam. And the reason why we let Saudi Arabia get away with all that is cheap oil. So we have a deal with them, we protect them, they give us cheap oil. When there was the oil embargo a long time ago, the U.S. panicked. They made a deal with Saudi Arabia, in essence, saying, hey, you know what? Make sure that doesn't happen again, and then we got your back, and we'll protect your dictatorship, which is what it is. Okay, and there's no democracy in Saudi Arabia. And then if you want to oppress your women, have at it, Hoss. Nobody's going to bother you about that. In fact, Bush used to go around holding Abdullah's hand. He had him at Crawford at his ranch, famously walked around with him, and he'd kiss him on both cheeks and sometimes slip him the tongue. Okay.
He didn't slip him the tongue.
So, I mean, look, Bush is like, hey, man, you're going to give me cheap oil. I mean, what else do you need me to do as we go around in circles, right? So the fact that Michelle Obama has done this tiny little protest is a welcome aberration from what we've generally done with Saudi Arabia. And remember that Saudi women might also see her in the press there.
Right.
And maybe it gets them thinking, right?
I love it. Yeah. And Saudi women, by the way, don't sit back and take the oppression. I mean, we've done numerous stories of women getting behind the wheel and refusing to listen to the laws banning them from driving. And so, I mean, I think that once you mobilize a certain number of people, once you inspire them enough, it could lead to serious political change. And it doesn't come easy, but I do like that Michelle Obama is kind of setting a standard there with what she's wearing.
So, a lot of people will say, no, you guys don't understand. The women there, they want to do that. It's all voluntary. Well, why don't you let them vote and drive around and see if it really is voluntary? Like, no, they want to be covered head to toe. And by the way, believe me, I get that some have internalized that culture and do really believe that, right? But you got to give them a choice first, and then we'll find out.
Yes.
Right? And if this leads to that in any small way, I think it's a great moment.